Hi, my name is Brandon and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. Finished up a new pair of glasses today by Chuck C. And great book. And it finishes with him answering questions at the retreat that he was speaking at that forms the text of this book. And the last thing that he says really stood out to me, and it's in regards to security and living in the moment. Two things that come up time and time again in any discussion about recovery and spirituality in general. So what he says is, now what am I talking about? I'm talking about the only security there is. When you and I think that we are secure because we have a job, because we have some dough in the bank, or this, or that, or the other thing, don't you believe it? That became one of the greatest living lessons I have ever learned, because there's never been a day or an hour since that I haven't known where my security is. It's my own relationship with my own God. And so one day at a time, 1 second at a time, the isness of the now is the only thing. It is not that we do not make appointments for next year. It's not that we don't know what we're going to do tomorrow when we're in the business world, but rather it's what we do. It's that we do today's job today and tomorrow's job tomorrow, and we don't get them mixed up. Living in the moment and really truly understanding that the moment is all we have has been one of the most important parts of my recovery, and has been one of the most important parts of my spiritual growth as I've taken this journey. I was forever in my head either dwelling on the past or thinking about the future. And I still, I don't dwell on the past as much these days, but I do still think a lot about the future, and I have to rein myself in from that a lot and remind myself that this moment, the moment right now, is all that I have. It's all that I have. It's all that's guaranteed. I could drop dead at any second, literally any second. And I think that's really critical, because that goes back to the other thing he's talking about here, which is security. And where do we find security? And he this is coming up in this part of the book after he tells a story about having to walk away from $500,000. And he was giving this speech in the mid 70s. So $500,000 was an incredible amount of money, and that was going to be enough for him to retire. And because he had to walk away from this because of the actions of someone else, because someone else was doing something very shady, he walked away from this and had to work for 15 more years. And so he's talking about how he felt secure for a lot of his life that he was going to get this $500,000. This man had promised him that money, and he ended up not getting it and had to work another 15 years. And he could have spent that 15 years of his life resentful, angry. But as he says, it would have driven him back to drink. And for him and for the rest of us who are in recovery, to drink or to go back to using drugs is to die. And resentments will lead us there. And so it was important for him to understand that his security for Chuck was with his God. And that's what we have to find, is where does our security lie outside of the material aspects of life? Whether it's a higher power, or whether it's in helping others, or whether it's in just spiritual connection with the world around us. Whatever it is, we have to find that security outside of money, our job. That's something I've learned recently. I always, at one point, I thought, oh, might just stay with the company that I work for the rest of my life and retire from this company. That's not my choice. That's not my choice. There's a good chance I could get laid off, at some point between now and the end of my career. So we get these ideas about security and we feel comfortable because we have this amount of money in the bank, or we've got this job and things look really good with it, or we've got a good house and we haven't had any problems with it. And that's not where we need to be looking for security. Security is something that we find either through a higher power, or through spiritual connection, or through living in the moment, or through working with other people, something outside of material wealth, material things. That's where we need to be looking for security. So, great ending to A New Pair of Glasses. I highly recommend this book to anyone working the AA program. There is a lot of material in this book that's quoted heavily in AA meetings and AA literature, and Chuck C is one of the most prolific speakers in AA history. So it's a great book for those in AA. I'd also recommend it for anyone who's on a recovery journey to get a perspective. I will say some of the language and some of the attitudes are a little bit politically incorrect these days. Some of the things he said would not be acceptable in today's political climate. So you do have to be willing to overlook that, knowing that the heart that was behind it and the love and the compassion behind it were really the important things. So next book that I'm going to read, I'm really excited about. I've read it before, but it's been several years, and I certainly was not in a good mental place when I read this. But the book is Fuck Feelings. This is a great book. It's both hilarious and really insightful. It's not written specifically for recovery. It's more of a general self-help type of book, and offering insights into the truth behind common problems like love, like being jealous of people. So it's going to have a very good connection to a lot of the things that we talk about in recovery. And over the next few weeks, as I read the book, I'll make those connections in my daily videos. In the meantime, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll be back here tomorrow with more.